Zach LaVine and Vooch come up big for the Chicago Bulls as they bounce back against the Detroit Pistons. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so the Chicago Bulls beat the Detroit Pistons tonight, 122-112. This is their fifth road win, which was huge. But there were a couple MVPs for the Chicago Bulls. Zach LaVine and Vooch played lights out. We're going to be talking about that and more. So let's go ahead and jump into the box score. And let's start with Zach LaVine. And so, look, Zach LaVine was huge in the fourth quarter. He went on a 12-0 run at one point. He scored 18 points in the fourth quarter. And he had a huge 25 points in this one. He also had some key rebounds and assists as well. Look, he had 5 assists, he had 6 rebounds, he had 1 steal, more importantly, just 1 turnover tonight, and he was plus 24. I love the pace that Zach LaVine played with tonight. He didn't press too much, and he let the game come to him. It was Vooch's game early on, and then he played off of that. We needed Zach LaVine to be our closer tonight, and that's exactly what he did. And I love the confidence that he continues to show in coming back this season. And I love the fact that, he is here for this team. It's not just him out there going for numbers and trying to up a trade value. And so that was like one of the narratives around this team between, would him and Vooch just be out there just trying to play for numbers and things like that? I don't see that with Zach LaVine. And so I've loved his leadership in that standpoint. And I think you see that tonight, and you see just how good he can be if he is locked in. So a great job from Zach LaVine. I think that he also had some really good defensive sequences tonight too. So next, Vooch. I think that Vooch played very well tonight. And he absolutely has to be one of our MVPs because, look, he played a great game as far as taking advantage of the paint. Every time he got switched on to a smaller player, I love that Vooch continues to be assertive and calling for the basketball, and he's finishing in the paint, and that is causing teams to shift. That's causing some of these three-point shots to open up, and I think that it's going to continue to give us some cutting lanes for our players if we can just now realize that you don't need to stand out on the perimeter. And so I think he continues to unlock this offense for us. But tonight, 29 points, he had 12 rebounds, he had 3 assists, 2 blocks, and he was plus 24 in the plus-minus box score. So both of the veteran players really leading the way for the Chicago Bulls. Then I want to talk about Coby White. So Coby White, 25 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. I know he has a -3 in the plus-minus box score, but I did like Coby White tonight as far as what he did with his pace today. I don't think that, he was looking for that home run three-point ball as much tonight, and I think that the game slowed down a bit for him, and I think he made some great shots at the end of the game. He was hitting some big clutch shots when we needed it as the Detroit Pistons were making a run. And so I like Coby White. I think that he's always a player that I don't worry about as far as figuring it out from one game to another. And he finds a way to be impactful tonight. So even with a -3, I liked everything that Coby White did for us tonight. With Patrick Williams tonight, 8 points. He had 2 assists. He had 5 rebounds. He did have 1 turnover, and he was a plus in the box score tonight. Now, he's missed 10 dunks on the season, and this is something that Patrick Williams has got to get better at because there have been some opportunities for him to get some dunks or layups, and for whatever reason, he's missed those. But I'm looking for Patrick Williams to get back into this rhythm that he had because going into that Rockets game, he was averaging 14 points, 5.2 rebounds, and also 3.6 assists with 1.8 steals. And so there is something there with Patrick Williams. It's just can he tap into that consistency? But the things that he did do well tonight was just defensively. I thought that he did a great job defensively out there, making some rotations, making it tough on some players. And I've said this before. I think that Patrick Williams' defense has been very good this season. I'm pretty sure he's the second best defender on the team behind Ayo Dosunmu. So we'll give Patrick Williams credit there. there. With Josh Giddy, he almost gets a triple-double tonight. 11 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists. I think the most important thing is that he was a plus 13 in the box score. Now, he did struggle to shoot the ball from outside, but he did play a bit more on the ball. And this is a good sign because, he did have a rough performance against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So hopefully he can ride this momentum and continue on from this. Ayo Dosunmu, I think he played well off the bench. 9 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound. I know he was 4 of 12 from the field, but he was plus 8 today. And I just liked Ayo coming in, and I think just the energy that him, Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, they brought out there to the team. I think that is something that this team needed, especially after what had happened to them against the Rockets the night before. And with Dalen Terry, I loved the fact that he got into it with Isaiah Stewart. I think that was a huge tone setter for this team. And I think that this team needs an identity. And I love that about Dalen Terry. And that's why it's just not about what he does in the box score. It's just the energy that he brings on a night-to-night basis. It's really been impactful for this team. And so even though he has 2 points today, he has 1 rebound, he was -9 in the box score, I still think that just his physicality that he brings to the game is something that this Chicago Bulls team absolutely needs. And then with Julian Phillips, look, athleticism, it shows again that huge dunk on Isaiah Stewart. And I think we're starting to see this game after game now that you're seeing some real athleticism show. I like the fact that he's been shot ready and he's not afraid to take those 3-point shots. You can tell that he's worked on his offensive game, but he is locked in defensively as well. And so I think that this unit has just done its job coming off the bench. I like that just led by Ayo Dosunmu, really making sure that defensively he's locking in on his assignments and just doing everything that he can to affect this team. This bench unit did very well tonight. And Jalen Smith, even though he finishes in a negative today in the box score, I liked his 3-point shooting. He was 2 of 3 there, 8 points. He had 5 rebounds. He looked pretty good. Certainly, I think that when he starts to get some more minutes, I can see that his points and production will go up as well. The one disappointment off the bench was Modest Buzelis. Okay, so Modest Buzelis tonight, he only got 2 minutes. He got 1 rebound. He was -3. And with Modest Buzelis, it was especially disappointing when you see his former teammate Ron Holland II playing for the Detroit Pistons. And that was a tight game, and he was still out there. And I think that Modest Buzelis should have been out there. I think you give him some minutes. You have got to develop this player, and it's got to be more than just the G League. The only way he's going to get experience is you need to play him. And so I know that Billy Donovan is trying to get some wins, but you've also got to prioritize the player development. I think that has to be something that has to get fixed moving forward because this team is not where it needs to be. The only way you get there is you need to continue to play Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, Modest Buzelis, like all these players off the bench that you're trying to figure out, do they fit into your future, which I think that these players are, but they need more experience to get better as you move on with this team. And so next up, as we go into the team box score, the key takeaway here for me is first and foremost, the Chicago Bulls get beat in the paint yet again, 51-36. So the Pistons beat us up in the paint. That's not any new news. The Chicago Bulls team really struggles as far as stopping teams in the paint. And I think that that's something that they're going to continue to be attacked on. But tonight, it didn't necessarily matter because, well, we shot the basketball very well. You can see that the field goal percentage is at 48.4% from the field and 50% from downtown. So we were super efficient. And we hit, 44 field goals on 28 assists. So that is huge. The assist to the field goal makes. That's some good efficiency for the Chicago Bulls. As far as the turnovers are concerned, look, we were 10-9 in that department, which is a lot better than we had done before. When I checked ESPN, it said 11. So it's either 10 or 11, one of those stats. But on this particular stat sheet, it's saying 10-9 as far as the turnover ratio. And then when it came down to fast break points, 14-13 was the Bulls' fast break numbers today. So there wasn't a whole bunch of discrepancy there between the two teams. teams as far as the fast breaks are concerned. And then rebounds 48-46 to the Pistons. And so, look, the Chicago Bulls played a very efficient game tonight. I think that the biggest takeaway for this game is just the energy. The energy was so much more different than it was against the Rockets. And I think Stacey King had pointed this out. Like, even if you're going to get beat by these elite teams, there's no excuse for you not to have that energy. And I totally agree with that. Like, look, win, lose, or draw, the energy has got to be the same every night. And it can't be a situation where you're locked in if the buckets are going down. Like, you have to be locked in even if you're not shooting the basketball well. And you're going to find in most nights, even with a good team, you're still going to give yourself a good chance to win those games, especially if you're, doing winning habits, which is not beating yourself and turning the basketball over and just making smart basketball plays out there on the offensive end. Or tonight, what they did was the rotations were there. The communication was there on the defensive end. Like, I saw a lot more help today. And so that's something where it's like this team just doesn't have a lot of individual, like, good defenders on this team. And this is going to be a team thing. And even if you do have some really good individual defenders, it still has to be a team oriented on the defensive end. Like, when you look at Golden State and things like that is still very much a team oriented defensive scheme that they run, where they're helping each other out. They're making the rotations, they're making the calls. And that's something that the Chicago Bulls have to continue to get consistent at. And that's something that they're going to have to grow into. And it's just the basics of basketball. So if you want to win and eventually become a contender, you need to do contender like things. And so anyway, let me know in the comments what you are thinking after this win for the Chicago Bulls against the Detroit Pistons. What is the key takeaway tonight? Was it Zach LaVine and Vooch and their amazing performance? Was it, Dalen Terry and this bench and just the energy and their chippiness tonight? I'd love to know what your thoughts are. I just want to thank everybody out there for liking, sharing, and subscribing to the content out there. It means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our goal of 5,000 subscribers before the NBA season ends. Just want to remind you to go out there and mash that subscribe button for us. Means a lot as we are trying to reach that goal. And so, look, even though the Chicago Bulls have a lot of questions still, and there is still a lot of work to be done, I am still saying go Bulls, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.